It's Wednesday, and I still haven't come up with rational reasons why we and everyone else have been so off when it comes to the Saints, at least through the first 1/8 of the season. But our guest this morning is as close to it as anyone. That's right, we're welcoming in the voice of the New Orleans Saints, Mike Hoss, this morning to discuss just how real it is and this week's matchup in the Dome against the Philadelphia Eagles. Before Mike comes on, we'll have Wednesdays with Gabe, talk a little about LSU's matchup against UCLA, Tulane facing Ooh La La, as there's chatter about a possible move to the Pac-12 or Pac-6 or whatever the hell they want to call themselves. Oh, and the Pelicans have a new TV deal. What does it mean for the average fan? Depends on where you live. No more time to waste. Let's get to what you came here for, and that is the Dattitude podcast, and it's coming up next.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where are you at, New Orleans? And hello to my friends elsewhere, everywhere, out there, who have pinched themselves so much that friends have considered calling the popo for a welfare check. Stop doing that. Broken blood vessels are not a good look for you or anyone else. You know what is looking good? Dattitude, episode number 280. We made it to 280. Who'd have thunk it? Presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, September the 18th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Derry, whether you're watching on one of our NOLA.com social media channels, or if you're listening on demand after the fact of the podcast. You won't see this pretty face if you're just listening. That's why you got to get on live or subscribe to the YouTube channel. More on that coming up. As always, I thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. Very much looking forward to having Mike Hoss on. You know, I didn't realize it had been, I told him when I asked him to come on, it's 2 years since you've been on. You got to come on. Then I went and looked back. It's actually been 3 years. He hasn't been on the show in 3 years since he took the gig. He's in his 4th season as voice of the Saints. We'll have him on this morning. Hopefully do this more often. I just sometimes I whiff. It happens. But you all know that you want to be a part of the show, and you can do that. You know how to do it. The regulars are here. Good morning, Rocky. Kyle Sherman, what up? Dylan Smith, good morning, Who Dat Nation. Good morning. It's been a very good week. How could it not be? Kyle's messaging in from Pebble Beach. How's the weather in Pebble Beach? How's your golf game going? A-Town, good morning. Jim and Gabe, the Moose is loose in the house this morning. He is. The Moose will be here. I don't think he's going to be wearing the Moose suit, but he will be here in a little bit. UBN. You know, it's funny when people get skinny. All of a sudden, they like to make fun of the fat. Piss off, UBN. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, I remember when I weighed 280. I think it was like 1977 when I was 9. Something like that. Kyle said he shot a 81 yesterday. I shot an 81 once on the front 9 at the little local Covington Golf Club here. Nah, I'm actually a better golfer than that. You wouldn't know it, but I'm not bad. Michelle, go Saints. Absolutely. And I am jealous because the weather's chilly, but no rain. Here it is not anything but chilly. All right. If you saw what our regulars are doing there, you could be a part of the show too, whether you're new, old, been with us for 280 episodes, or this is episode number 1 for you. Doesn't matter. You can type in your comment on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll show it as long as you're not a dumbass. You'll be on the show. Maybe even if you're a dumbass, who knows? We'll take it almost any. Our bar is set really low. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to our ever-growing, I know I keep saying that, but it's true. It grows every day. It's amazing how much it's grown in the past 2 weeks. I know it's football season, but Somebody either really likes or really hates what I'm saying, because that's how you get subscribers. Sometimes it's not that they really like what you're saying. Sometimes they say, what is this moron going to say next? Whatever. It's equaling subscribers. You'll always know when we go on the air live every weekday, Monday through Friday, except Tuesday. And then you'll have access to also to all of our shows and short takes. You can check us out on TikTok as well. That's rolling. You can get in touch with me either here on X at Jim Derry Jr. or via email at jderry@theadvocate.com. Lots to talk about this morning, even before Mike comes on the show. Uncle Big Nick, don't believe him. He's calling himself a dumbass. Shows in your picks. Crossfire tomorrow. I can't wait. UBN and I in the pick show. We got Crossfire. Michelle wants to know if there's any news on AK's contract. Absolutely not a word, and I don't expect any. Very rarely. It happens, but it's very rare when you get contracts done in season. Once the season starts, that's pretty much it. So I do not expect anything there. It could happen, but I doubt it. Again, plenty of Saints talk coming, and we only got about 7 minutes till Mike's coming on. So I'm going to save some of my comments on PFF grades. If I don't get to it with Mike, I'll get to it after Mike goes off the air. But interesting PFF grades. Might not be what you think. We did a story on it. Zach Ewing did on NOLA.com/Saints. Interesting to talk about the grades that came in for this offense especially. Again, I'm going to save that because I do have plenty to talk about, and we got to get to Gabe in just a minute. LSU-UCLA, the Tigers are a 24-point favorite. Not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this. Probably talk about this more tomorrow with Tom Casale of bet.nola.com. But I love LSU this week to roll. It's not part of my best bets, but I will tell you, I really do. UCLA, say whatever you want about LSU, and you can be, the sky's falling. Brian Kelly needs to be fired. Stop. Dude, please get a grip. Every time somebody's, it's ridiculous. Brian Kelly being fired is absurd talk. Okay. I'll go back and I'll say this, and I love Coach O as a person. I do. He has been so nice to me throughout my career. I'm not knocking Coach O at all. Okay. But just remember where this program was 3 years ago. Okay. It was about to go back into the depths of 1998 all over again. The Curly and DiNardo years. Whatever one's which. It's like Dudley DeBosier, Curly DiNardo. I don't know which one's which. Doesn't matter. The LSU was about to go back into that rabbit hole. Okay? This is not that. Stop talking about firing Brian Kelly. A, it's not going to happen. B, it shouldn't happen. You're ridiculous. Now, if they stink, if they somehow lose to either UCLA or South Al, or they win those games barely and they go into Ole Miss and get blown out, then we can talk. But until then, shut the hell up. All right. Anyway, get me fired up on a Wednesday morning. UCLA, by the way, barely beat Hawaii, 16-13. They were smoked at home by Indiana, 42-13. I think this is a gift, 24. I think LSU is going to steamroll the Bruins. I really do. Tulane, ooh la la, baby. Ooh la la. That's what they are. The Wave's only a 3-point favorite. ULL had a bye week. They routed Grambling and Kennesaw State in their first two games. I like Tulane to bounce back big. Speaking of Tulane, hold on real quick. Hakeem, it's not afternoon yet here, Hakeem. But thank you, man. I appreciate it. Terrence says the O-line has him in shock. How can it not? Dylan, Falcons beat the Saints. The Falcons beat the Saints. I was happy I had the Falcons money line. Later on, I will tell you why that may end up being a good thing. I'm not going to do it while Mike's on, but I am going to tell you after Mike goes off, remind me, I'm going to tell you why the Falcons beating the Eagles is a good thing. Over under 49.5. By the way, if it gets to 50, be the first time since December of 2020 that the Saints play in a game with an over under of 50 or more. And it's only happened twice, the 49.5. Rock wants to know if I saw the Eagles starting this badly. I don't think they started that badly. T Mama, Who dat, baby? Dylan's shaking his head. All right. I want to bring in Gabe because, again, we don't have a lot of talk. Well, let me hold on before I get to Gabe real quick. And Mike. How about Evangeline Securities? They're top of my list today and a lot of days. Have you been thinking about selling your family-run or privately held business? You have? Well, we have an answer for you. What's the biggest question you have? What's that? Yeah, you in the back. What's the biggest question? You're right. What is your business worth? Our friends Nick Braden and Ron Hemel can help figure that out for you. They will maximize the value of the business by scheduling a complimentary valuation. From there, they can help you make informed decisions on what's best for you and your family. Sipping drinks on the beach. That sounds good. Or going to Pebble Beach and where it's chilly and rainy. That sounds good too. Evangeline has offices on Poydras Street and in Lafayette. Much more coming up on them later in the show. Been talking to my friend Nick Braden all week. He's flabbergasted. He's fired up. He can't believe it either. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right, let me bring in Gabe real quick because Gabe, I put out a tweet yesterday. I had no idea it was going to start a firestorm. Okay. I just was simply putting it out there. People got all in an uproar because there's talk about Tulane in negotiations, whether it's true or not. I'm sure it is from reputable sources, by potentially joining the Pac-12 or the Pac-10 or the Pac-8 or the Pac-6, whatever the hell they are. And how I said it, it is a dumb move for Tulane to do so. You agree with me, but not just Tulane fans. Some agree because the West Coast trips are going to be silly. I don't think it's that much better than the AAC right now, but it started an uproar.
Well, yeah, it started an uproar on your end because you originally posted it and commented on it. It started an uproar on my end because I said that the Pac whatever should be going after UNLV as opposed to Tulane. I think UNLV should be their top priority given they play at Allegiant Stadium. That is a state-of-the-art, multi-billion-dollar stadium, probably, and I just think that's really key to have if you want to be a conference that's taken seriously. And I just don't think Tulane really offers that much right now. I mean, they're good at football, but why would you leave the American?
I'm not even going that far, though. I'm not even saying that Tulane doesn't offer them something, and I hear what you're saying. My point is, for
academics, obviously.
It's not just that, though. You know, Tulane, what do you gain out because Oregon State and Washington State are in the Pac-12? Who cares? I mean, why are they that much better than some of the teams that are in the AAC? I mean, now Memphis is talking about leaving. That would hurt the American Conference. Mm-hmm. I get it. But I mean, San Diego State. Well, I can't wait for that Thursday night basketball game at Boise. I mean, who gives a damn? I mean, the travel cost alone, as Kyle said, would go through the roof. I'm just not sure what they think they get out of it, especially in football. They have a better chance. People might not believe this, but think about it. I think they have a better chance of making the playoff from the AAC than they do from the Pac-12 because they go to the Pac-12. They're probably not going to win the Pac-12. They have a chance, at least in the AAC, if they do their schedule right, to have like a 10-1 season and be the best ranked non-Power 4 team in the country.
I don't think they have a better chance in any sport in the Pac than they do the AAC.
Maybe. Yeah,
so
I agree.
Not only are you talking travel costs, but you're talking it's going to be more competitive for. I just don't. You're not going to get more money out of it. There's not a higher level of competition. There are one or two teams that are better than you, but I mean, for all the costs and everything and all the hassle, it's just not worth it. I don't see it being worth it. What you could do if you're Tulane, I say sit here and maybe wait for the ACC. If anyone is going to be expanding, because Florida State and Clemson, who knows what's going to happen with that?
And who cares if that takes 4 or 5 years? Doesn't matter. Just stay where you are.
Exactly.
Why do you have to jump somewhere? By the way, Dustin's asking for my daily apology for doubting us. Dude, man. I mean, I don't know how many ways I can tell you I was wrong about the Saints so far. It's only 2 games, though. Wait, you want an apology from me today? Spoiler alert, wait for my picks tomorrow. Yikes. Just saying.
So
Nick says everyone in the pack, whatever, is a state school. Tulane would have to change their name to Tulane State. Tulane State Greenway. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I think the best solution for all sides, if you're Tulane, you stay put in the American.
Yeah.
You maybe wait for the ACC, and then if you're the pack, whatever you want to be, go after UNLV. Maybe bring in Nevada, and then what I think they should do, which would be a really interesting twist, I think they should go after the Dakota schools.
Yeah. And
try and have them jump up. I think it'd just be a fun twist, but it is what it is. It'll be interesting to watch. Conference realignment's fun. I don't think it's as serious as a lot of people are making it out to be.
We're going to talk more about this going forward for sure. And it is what it is. By the way, about to wave bye-bye to Gabe for today. He'll be back tomorrow for his best bet of the week. And also after we finish talking to Mike, I got something to talk about with Pelicans TV deal that I want to bring up, but I'm going to save it for the end of the show. And then actually, again, some more things on Saints and their PFF rankings. Gabe, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yep. Just one thing before I bounce off.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned earlier the LSU-UCLA spread. We're going to see what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object this week. LSU is 0-2 against the spread this year. However, they have the second best against the spread record at home since 2021.
0-3 if you count Nichols, which it wasn't available at every book, but there you go. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right, time to bring in the voice of the New Orleans Saints. It has been a long time, Mr. Haas, Mr. Moose. How you doing there, buddy?
I am well. All good. I mean, good gosh, if the timing is everything. So I'm okay with where we were and kind of where we are, right? So yeah, it's it's amazing how things change. Although, quite frankly, and I talked to Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen, it's like you don't have to go far to bring your team back to reality. They were here, 2-0, had to win 4 of their last 5 to finish 9-8, still missed the playoffs. So you should not have a problem with bringing this team back to earth because it's right in front of you.
I don't think they're going to have a problem with that. I really don't. I think they showed last week that they realize where they are. And I just don't, the one thing I'm going to say, look, I was one of the doubters, and I'm still not sure that I'm 100% there, but I will say this, the way that they reacted last week, I thought was phenomenal because they didn't just, there were a couple moments there, Mike, especially in the first half where, I kept thinking to myself, this is a really big third down play. I mean, the Saints had a couple really, they're up, 14-6, and then it's 21-13. And I'm thinking they really need to convert here. And they did just about every time that they really needed to convert and make a play. And that, to me, that's what was impressive, the way they handled those situations.
No, I agree. After the CeeDee Lamb touchdown, right, that was a dagger just because of the way it happened. Immediately, I looked at Deuce and went, Minnesota 2017, right? It just felt like that. Not that the stakes were as high, but it felt like that. And I was like, wow, it's a one possession game. It's 21-13. And they had dominated in that next series. You're right. They took it down for a touchdown. What was it? How many plays was it after the CeeDee Lamb?
7?
11 plays, 70 yards.
Okay. Yeah.
So, they've been able to score on 2 1-play drives, a 2-play, a 3-play, a 4-play, and a 5-play. But they've also had an 11-play, 13-play, 14-play. So they've been able to do whatever they needed, whatever the situation called for. They were able to come up with it, whether it was a defensive penalty, whatever it was. Thus far, they have had the answer. It's amazing.
Dattitude podcast this morning, presented by Evangel Securities, welcoming in the voice of the New Orleans Saints, Mike Haas. And Mike, it's hard to believe. When I emailed you earlier in the week, I said it's been 2 years. It's actually been 3 years since you've been on the show. It's hard to believe you're in your 4th season as the voice of the Saints. I know things are a lot different for you from the first time we talked, and you had all these cards and these papers, and you were showing me how you did everything. I imagine you probably don't need quite as much now. You feel a lot more comfortable doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think part of it was a learning process of kind of learning how to prepare. And it was and Deuce has been a big help in this because it's like he could watch me with so much information. It was sensory overload. And he was like, peel back. Again, Deuce walks into a booth with 2 phones and a flip card. That's it. And I've got computers and notes and stickets everywhere. It's like a beautiful mind. So has been a process of learning how to prepare. I used to have 2 and 3 notes for every opponent player. I'm like, I'd be lucky to get in one
Exactly.
player. And so it's, you just learn the players, learn the numbers, learn the players, and try to tell a story. And the interesting part of this year, I was like, okay, 4th year, you feel comfortable, Deuce. It's a great relationship. Just go have fun and let the game come to you, right? Let the game come to you. Well, okay, 5th play, Carolina, touchdown. 1st play, defense, interception. Every play comes to you, and it's a touchdown or a great defensive play. So that part I was not planning on. But yeah, I feel like it's a different atmosphere, different ball game for me now in my 4th year.
I do play-by-play, obviously, on a much smaller scale, doing high school football on Friday nights and the key is having a great partner, right? I mean, and you got Deuce, have Jim Rapier, who is like this book of Saints knowledge, but it's just a book of football knowledge in general, and you wouldn't know it. So having him helps, but you're right about, I used to put together, and I'm in my 11th year of broadcast, and I used to put together these long, detailed notes and spend hours on all these notes. And then you don't realize how fast, you can watch a game and it's one thing and it's fast, but you can't realize how fast the game goes by until you call one and you realize it's the 3rd quarter. And I might have 40 notes and I've only read like 2 of them. You can't force them in. So it's funny how you say that, because that's exactly true. And I started making fewer notes. Doesn't mean I don't prepare, but you don't need all those damn notes.
Right. No, you have them. And you're right. It's about peeling back and really telling the 30,000-foot story. Just lead people along the way, because when the play happens, I do the play and then I shut the heck up. And then Deuce takes us, and I've listened to a lot of color analysts. He takes us, he's watching the play.
He's awesome.
So he takes us right up to where I need. There's not a lot of fill. There's not too little fill. It's like perfect. And quite frankly, I don't even care if he goes long, because he's watching the play. He can do whatever he wants. I often feel that we are watching 2 games. I'm like, what game are you watching? Because I am just watching stuff. And he goes, oh yeah, there's too many men on the field. The Saints have this guy here. The referee hadn't called it yet. And then they do throw the flag. I'm like, man, it's amazing.
Mike, there was a moment with you and Deuce last week. And look, the Saints have been super fortunate, I guess, to have the great color analysts they've had over the past several decades now. I mean, and it's a short list. You talk about Deuce, you had Hokie Gajan, you had Archie Manning. I mean, it is just a phenomenal group. And there was a moment that I watched on social media with you and Deuce, where Deuce basically called the play, and you would just watch him, and he looked like Nostradamus. He knew exactly what was coming.
Nostradamus.
I love it. And you guys just played off each other, and you looked at him like, how the hell did you know that was coming?
Yeah, it's that play. Well, obviously that's the play that's been shown so much. But yeah, we have a show on Fridays, Fans of the Pro. So we spend a couple of hours on the Friday. But we don't talk a lot during the week. We don't talk a lot before the game. We do, but we're not about football. So I'm what he said, can I be greedy? I had no idea what he was coming with next. And then he said, take a shot. Right. And then I knew immediately he was talking about Shaheed and Kalen Carson, the rookie DB. And so when he said that, I just happened to follow to the left side of the field, and there's Kalen Carson standing right in front of Rashid Shaheed to kind of set up what I didn't know was coming, but he did. And then to me, the beauty of that clip, and that's just my GoPro. He has no, that's not a station thing. That's my GoPro.
Right.
Is his reaction is just, first off, beautiful. The punch of the fist. And then just, he kind of breathes and goes, man, I love this game. And that's
priceless. And check out, by the way, everybody can go check out what I'm talking about at Mike Haas.com on X. and you can go see. And there's other things that Mike posts. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. All right, Mike, let's talk about this team. And first of all, let's get real. I mean, you could be, and I said this Monday, and I used the term, you could be the who-dattiest of who-dats. And to think that this start, I'm not saying 2-0 wasn't possible, because I actually said that the Saints sort of matched up well with the Cowboys. I thought, yeah, maybe they could they should beat Carolina and maybe go to Dallas and win. But anyone who predicted what we've seen so far is lying. I mean, this start has to blow even the wildest of wildest dreams.
Totally agree. Felt like 2-0 was possible. Felt like 1-0 was needed to happen, period.
Better happen, yeah.
Right. But yeah, to do what they've done with the starting unit, well, it's 16 drives and 14 scores, to score 6 touchdowns the first 6 times you touched it on the road in Dallas. I mean, it's the how is the significant. No one could see it. And it's not just offense, it's defense making the big plays. And I do believe that a lot of it is that teams have become ingrained for 16 years as to what to expect. And now for the first time in a long time, they don't know what to expect. We don't know what to expect. Deuce does, but we don't. And so you're watching this offense kind of, it's, you know, if last year it was 3rd and 3, Taysom was going to be in the game. He was going to be a quarterback. He was going to be in the shotgun. He was going to take the snap and do QB power right, QB power left, QB draw, QB lead. And typically, even the defense knew that was coming, and he typically would get the first down. Now, you don't know. You really don't know. You have Rashid Shaheed lined up in the pistol behind Derek, Alvin Kamara split wide to the left, Taysom Hill as a fullback to the right. And you're like, well, okay. And on that play that I'm talking about, that alignment, Juwan Johnson catches a touchdown in the corner of the end zone. He's like, just, you know, so you got all these other moving parts, and you're looking at Shaheed and Kamara and Taysom, and then Juwan Johnson catches a corner route for the touchdown. So I do believe that some of this and a lot of this is teams trying to go, wait, this isn't what happened to the Pete Carmichael? Wait, what happened to all that stuff? We knew it was coming, and that'll play itself out. Teams they have 2 games of tape now, right? And really good tape. For the Saints, it's like a 7-on-7 drill. And so I think the Saints are aware of that, but I also think they're smart enough to keep planning, to keep having little, you know, things that make this offense and defense unique. But they're, you know, Alvin Kamara got NFC Offensive Player of the Week, not surprisingly. But man, it's the how. It's not the what, it's the how it's happened.
I agree wholeheartedly, and we got some comments here. I showed Ed Faust. Welcome to the show. Go Saints! Don't go get cocky. I don't think they will. Ray,
too many veterans. Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, all these guys who are not just veterans. They are veterans who understand where they are in their careers, and they said it in Irvine, California, that this year they know the clock is running. This year is important. And they want to make an impact. So I don't think this locker room, because the veterans, will let anybody start feeling themselves, if you will, for this 2-0 start, and really the 91 points and the demolishments. And I think what will help is that they have been under the radar so long, and quite frankly, if you were in Irvine, they weren't under the radar, they weren't on the radar. Literally, be no coverage from a national standpoint, other than the last segment of any show. Oh yeah, in the NFC South, we don't think the Saints will do much. So they have this chip on their shoulder. But then after the Carolina game, it was like, all right, well, Carolina maybe it certainly isn't any good. They're the worst from last year. And then after the Dallas game, it was like, maybe the Cowboys weren't as good as expected. And this week, you think anybody's talking about the Saints? No, they're still talking about, the Eagles collapse. It's all about Philly and their collapse this week. So I love it. Just maintain where you are under the radar as long as you can, which ain't gonna be easy, but as long as you can, let it be about the other team.
Yeah, even Stephen A's saying that the Saints might be the best team in the NFC, and they're just 2 weeks in. Let's
what did he say during in camp? Right? What did those guys say? Coward, greatest team ever created. You know what? It's like, come on, 2 games. And we know what you said. Social media is out there. We can go back and see what everybody said.
Mike, I've been apologizing all week. So, I mean, it's been an apology tour for me. Joseph Reed says, go Saints, have faith and our players ride that train. And back to what Ray was saying, we should be able to run all over them Eagles. I mean, you look at the stats, and I got them here rankings wise. Again, this is only 2 games, so you take rankings with a grain of salt at this point of the season. But so far, the overall defense for the Eagles is 30th in the NFL, which is kind of a surprise. 25th against the run, 28th against the pass, 27th in points allowed. Look, that doesn't mean anything if the Saints can't put together that same kind of game plan and go. You still got to go out and do it. So, don't get too, as we've been saying, don't get too cocky.
No, I agree. But, those numbers, so they played Green Bay, and the schedule makers have not been kind to Philly. I will say that. They play in Sao Paulo, Brazil on a Friday night, come back on a Monday night, and then go on the road in a short week the next week. So those 3 weeks is what it is. But the difference in their games to our games, I think they've had 13 lead changes in their first 2 games. The Saints have had none, right? Dominated from the get-go. So you have, and the Eagles are just trying to, there was so much blame from Monday night. I mean, I got to, how do you get Saquon Barkley back, mentally, which I don't think will be a problem. Jalen Hurts with that, that ill-fated the throw and even the call. They needed 15, 20 yards on that on that final drive, and they're throwing deep outs with a deep safety. I don't even know why Atlanta's playing a deep. They know Atlanta almost should be coming up because they're going to be doing short things, not deep things, but they did. So there's believe me, the Eagles are enormously happy that this game is in the Superdome and not Lincoln Field in Philly, because that crowd, I've been there many times. They boo Santa, right? We played them in 2021 late in the season. They were like 13-2. I mean, there was some crazy, and Saints were up like 7-6 at halftime. They were booing at halftime. And I was like, your team's going to the NFC Championship. We were fighting. So they're happy to be coming to New Orleans and be on the road, truly.
How do you stay even keel, though, Mike? I mean, how do you stay to where, it's tough to do when you put up these many points, especially for the offense that's been much maligned. We've been railing, not you, but we have been railing on this offensive line, thinking they couldn't do anything, and they've proved that they're not a problem at all. But how do you keep this even keel going?
Because I kind of was not on the negative train to begin with. I'm always, in life, I am not a glass half full guy. I'm not. But when it comes to this football team, I don't know. I guess the fan in me comes out. Like when Jeff Duncan does his season article with all the media, I think I had him 10-7. I know I did. And they're like, you're out of your mind, right? But I'm just positive. I'm not negative before the season. I felt like the offensive line was a question mark, but we didn't know. I felt like the running situation was kind of a question mark, but we didn't know. Derek Carr I don't think he was a question mark, but we hadn't really established the wide receivers. And so there were question marks, but it wasn't necessarily negative. So to me, and again, because we were right here last year, 2-0, and should have been 3-0, we've been here and we can see how quickly it kind of goes away, and it doesn't take much. And so you got to be strong, but so it's not hard for me to stay positive. If you listen to our broadcast, is not what you'd call objective, right?
It's not,
I mean, it's not, we're not complete screaming into the microphone homers, but right. We see it through a prism, and it's positive, and we've had nothing, and I'm surprised it's taken this long for me to say it, but because everything falls out of it. When you run the football, you can do anything you want. It makes the offensive line better because they're running. They love pass blocking. I mean, look at this offensive line. You got Cesar Ruiz running 50 yards downfield, just looking for a blocker. They have been called for illegal man downfield because they're just looking for somebody to hit, looking to block. Trevor Penning has been mauling people because it's run blocking. They're not pass blocking on 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8 very often. And so that when you run the football and when you can stop the run on defense, well, everything else, nothing. It's the key. The key. They were one of the worst last year. Running the football, stopping the run. Now they're one of the best. Well, yeah, they were 2-0 both years, but
it was different though, Mike. And we talked about this earlier in the week. I mean, they skated by Tennessee. They couldn't score. They were settling for field goals. I think it was like 18-17 or something along those lines.
16-15.
16-15. And then you beat the Panthers 20-17 the next week on Monday night.
With Tony Jones.
Exactly. Against a team that won 2 games all of last year. And so this year is completely different, the start. So you can't really compare the 2-0s. Taylor says, never thought he would type these words, but Trevor Penning seems to be a better fit at right tackle than Ramczyk. I wouldn't go that far, Taylor. Yeah. But he's doing well. This Kubiak scheme seems to fit Penning with his mauling approach perfectly.
Because they're running. If it's 3rd and 10 and Trevor Penning is spending an entire game, just like Fuaga, an entire game of drop step and pass blocking, it's a different situation. But when you're running the football, these guys love it. And Fuaga's been a blessing from the second he walked on campus. He's like a 30-year-old guy, right? With 7 years of experience. And they're both learning new positions. But when you're run blocking in a new position and you're not at pass blocking and you got some, guy out to the wide who's going to come hard and you're thinking left foot drop, right foot drop for Penning, if you're thinking that, it's over. You've kind of lost, but they haven't had to do it. And so they can, don't get me wrong. It's just when you're learning those new positions, what they needed were 2 games where you just running the football, just like they've had. And hopefully that can continue, because if that continues, this offense will start to see it really settle in. Because right now, if you look at the Carolina game, I mean, the whole game, Olave had 11 yards. He was double covered.
Right.
And it set up Rashid Shaheed. And even the last game, Olave had a much better game, but I think the NFL defenses, while they know about Shaheed, are just learning that, oh gosh, we got a whole different ball game on that side. And
you're not going to be able to double Olave.
No. In fact, I'm not even sure. It's not even really doubling Shaheed, because he's going to run past the corner. He's going to run past the safety. Yeah. Right. But you got to stick a guy over there a little deeper. And you're right. You have to start. And then that opens up the underneath to the tight end. So, man, when this offense is, when you can run the ball.
Yeah. How high are you going to have to put that safety is the question. My friend Rob says the real test is if they can overcome a bad game. Not saying we want one, but mainly staying healthy in the secondary. And whether it's at some point, let's get real. I mean, even the Kansas City Chiefs and the best teams of the best, the Saints in 2009, it took until game 14. But at some point you have a bad game. And so I think as this long season progresses, that's what we'll really find out. Again, early, just 2 weeks, 1/8 in, not even 1/8, because there's 17 games now. But when the Saints do have that average game, if they can win that kind of game, if they can beat the Eagles and play like an average game, I think that's when a lot of people, especially people that do this for a living, will really start to believe.
No, I agree. But you're going to face adversity. You look at some other teams, and I don't like to talk about injuries a lot just because I don't like to even talk about it. But you can be decimated, and that is just a factor in it. In the long season, you need to stay healthy. So far, the Saints have. You're right. In the secondary, they need to as well. But if you look back at that 2009 season, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, the at Miami game, at Washington game, yeah, they were victories in the end. They were down big with Miami, and
Meacham catching the miracle
in Washington. So we don't think about it because they got to 13-0, then lost their last 3. We don't think about it as much, but they faced adversity and they had to overcome. And that team ran the ball better, almost as well as they threw it. And that's that team, the 2011 team. When this team historically, 2013, has run the ball well, they've had successful seasons.
Yeah, throughout its career. And I mean, honestly, it doesn't always work out that well, but what did Kansas City, Kansas City had lost the Super Bowl appearance, got blasted by Tampa Bay. What did they do to their team to make them better? Well, they went out and drafted Isaiah Pacheco, right? I mean, and obviously them running the football made them, when you don't know what's coming from where, and that's why this Saints offense so far, as you talked about, has been much better. The unpredictability of it. And I'm not going to sit here and not Pete Carmichael today because I've done it enough. But I think it was just so stale and no movement, and you kind of could figure out what was coming from where. And I think that's why you could figure out when the Saints. I mean, I could call when the Saints were going to run the football. Right. Now on Sunday, I'm watching the game. Okay, this is going to be a run. Oh, I'm completely wrong. I think I was right, maybe like 20% of the time.
Right. Well, Derek Carr said it best, and I've said this before, and I apologize because it's probably out there. But in Irvine, just one day, he said, when I run this offense correctly, the first 4 to 5 steps I take at quarterback, the defense shouldn't know whether it's a run or pass. And I was like, wow, okay. That's meaningful. Right. Because we didn't live in that world for 16 years. And quite frankly, let's be clear that it's the Sean Payton offense that Pete was running. It was enormously successful. It just got predictable. And so when you can do 4 to 5 steps and that defense know if it's a run or pass, that's a lot of steps in the NFL. We've seen it. And when it's run correctly, you don't know. And that's the beauty of it. You don't know.
It certainly is a lot of fun. Ray asks, is there any word on Taysom Hill? Dottie would want to miss this game. I think you would have to strap Taysom Hill down to a chair with chain links and 3 master locks to get him to miss, especially again.
Sometimes, but yet it's really, if he doesn't play, and we'll know today. I mean, I don't think he's going to practice today. To me, I think he's going to be DMP and then a game time decision. We know so little about the injury other than it's a chest. And you're right. I think, but most of the time, the team has to save Taysom Hill from Taysom Hill, because you're right. He'll play and go in and run into the wall, but it's September. We're going to need him in 2025 in January, last game of the year at Tampa. So, yeah, I think we kind of will know more today, but he ain't practicing today. I don't think. If he does, then if he's even limited today, he's going to start on Sunday. But I don't expect that'll be the case. But then we'll have to wait and see. I think he'll be a game time decision. But you're going to have to. This is going to happen. Marshawn Lattimore, perfect situation. We felt like pregame, you need Marshawn Lattimore because of CeeDee Lamb. You need him out there one-on-one. Didn't play. Kool-Aid McKinstry came in, started, played 61 snaps. You kept Alante in the slot. It worked out. You're going to need that. Guys are going to miss games. And so you're just going to have to, how do you adjust? How do you play when you don't play 100%?
I've been wrong about a lot of things from the preseason going into this one, but one thing I was right about, and I've been saying it since he got here. I think Derek Carr, it just goes to prove that if you give him time to throw the ball, and really he doesn't need a ton of time, you just give him that extra half a second. I mean, I think he is a top 10 kind of quarterback, and I've always thought that, with a cannon for an arm, and he showed you in 2 deep passes to Shaheed how accurate he can be, and in a couple that we haven't really even talked about on that out to Olave that got him to the 1-yard line when they scored the touchdown right before the half is a perfect example. It's thrown exactly where it had to be thrown. But I just think if Derek Carr is showing you what he can do, if you just give him just a little bit more time.
It's the half a beat. To me, it's the half a beat. The 59-yarder to Shaheed, the 70, it's the half a beat where he stays in the pocket and fires it off. And to be honest, we saw this toward the end of last year, last 5 games. We did. And I go back and listen to every broadcast ad nauseum, and the word trust came into our conversation during that final 5 games of him throwing back shoulders, throwing seam routes, him trusting his receivers trusting him. I don't understand. Derek Carr is a good human. I don't understand the hate.
Neither do I. I never have.
People, fans can have.
You know why, Mike? Because he's not Drew Brees.
I don't know who is, right?
No one.
He didn't replace Drew. There was a whole season.
But it doesn't matter. He's the first real, they signed this guy to a 4-year contract. So he's the first permanent replacement for Drew Brees. And I have to say it at least once every other week. Drew Brees is gone and he's never coming back. You don't replace a guy who threw for 80,000 yards.
No, you don't. And so here's a guy who gutted it out, started all 17 games last year, one of 9 quarterbacks to do so. Could have easily not played. And maybe, I don't know if he helped or hurt. It doesn't matter. He gets no credit for gutting it out and being a true hoodat And I'm baffled at, and people, I'm a fan. I'm a season ticket holder. You say whatever you want. You pay the money, do whatever you want. But I feel like this has been the same guy towards the end of last year. That's this year. If you just took the verbatim of his pressers and put them up with what Drew said, you couldn't tell one from the other. He's a good team guy. He's a good human. So, first pick, first interception Sunday, they'll boo, whatever. I don't, it is. He can handle it. He's a big kid.
They'll only boo if they're losing. I think they'll only boo if they're losing. I want to ask you about, Alvin Kamara. We talk about his potential contract. We'll worry about what happens with Alvin Kamara after the season. But at 29, Mike, I joked the other day, is he 29 or 23? Because he looks like the old Alvin Kamara.
But he looked like that in Irvine. I will say that about Alvin. And he looks faster. Coach Allen said that the other day. He's like, they just look faster. And for Alvin, and I put him up against Ezekiel Elliott the other day. So Ezekiel Elliott is 3 days older than Alvin. He was born on July 22nd.
I didn't realize that.
Alvin was born on July 25th.
Yeah.
Same year. So they're the exact, one's 29, Alvin's 29, 3 days apart. Elliott has 750 more carries than Alvin. Alvin has more receptions, but not a lot. So that beating. So to me, he's a 29-year-old, but he's a 29-year-old with not the wear and tear of like an Ezekiel Elliott, right? And he just has a sense about him, maneuverability. You look like, even on the field, you're going, how is this guy not tackled? I don't understand. He finds a crease, finds a sliver, and then is able to not take the big hit. He doesn't take the just pounding. He falls.
He didn't take any hit Sunday.
Right. He just falls in a way, when the first touchdown, he ended up standing up. And I'm like, how did he end up in the end zone standing up? And then the touchdown that was away to us. So we're in the corner. And he runs left, and he goes into this gaggle of massive people. And then all of a sudden, he just pops out for us. And I'm like, what the heck? He just popped out of the tunnel. And that's Alvin. He has and in this offense, when you do a lot of zone running, it's on the back. That's why everybody anticipated that he would flourish in this Kubiak system. Zone right, he decides, when's my cutback? Where's my slither? And there's no one in the NFL better than Alvin Kamara. He just has a vision, and he has the patience. Most backs don't have the patience. They see a hole, they take it. He'll wait that half a beat, just like Derek Carr, and that half a beat means the difference.
Yeah, I've always said, too, you talk about touches. When you look at the age of a running back, it's not until they get to about 32. I think it's really the amount of times that they have touched the football over their age, and that's why – remember a few years ago when they brought Latavius Murray, and people forget that he was 28 years old, I think, when they first brought him in. And you were talking about Mark Ingram, and he were the same age. The difference was Mark Ingram had almost twice as many touches as Latavius Murray. So
and punishing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I thought Latavius Murray was coming in a lot fresher. He had a couple seasons where he hadn't even touched the ball because of injury. So I think you're right. I think it depends on how many touches you have. Now, that will be an issue going forward, but we'll worry about that later. But I just think obviously the rejuvenation of Alvin Kamara has helped transform this team. And you could say whatever you want, but right now, as great as Derek Carr has been, I almost think that Alvin Kamara is the MVP through 2 games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so when you look back, and I'm not looking at the numbers in front of me, but I think it was $75 million in 2020, the extension at that point.
Yeah.
What a bargain. What a bargain.
Yeah.
And with every game, I have no idea what the Saints are doing from a front office. So I don't know. I don't have any insight. But at every game, you're like, how much is this? If we don't get him signed, how much is this going to cost us in the long run? Because he's not. And this is the way Alvin would be running, irrespective of the contract situation. He's a football player. That's all he knows.
Yeah.
He came to camp and went, all right, no contract. Boom. He ran exactly like he's running right now in Irvine every day. He's a football player. He gives it his all, like Taysom, like Derek, all of them. They're just football players. And so this doesn't surprise me, but man, he just looks like he's got that extra gear now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we'll see. A couple of things before I let you go. I do want to kind of touched on the defense. Ray says, He thought Kool-Aid played well, and that Harris is a dog. Man, a physical team. And I thought Tyron also looks like he drank from the fountain of youth. He got hit. He came back. I didn't know if he was going to come back after that first hit that he gave. But this defense has been its usual aggressive self. It helps when your offense is doing what it's doing to keep them fired up. I think they've played outstanding. 7th right now through 2 games, but 3rd against the run, which is, still 20th against the pass. But that's because that the teams they played have been behind. So I just think they've done an excellent job so far.
No, I agree. And you're right. They've been playing all of last year. It just felt like this team was playing uphill, swimming upstream. And this year they're not. And so it's the exact opposite. Saints defensively could not stop the run. So you were not in these obvious pass situations. And I look at a guy like Chase Young and Carl Granderson. Chase Young is a beast. He is the tallest. I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't want that guy coming at me just in street clothes. So I can't imagine what he's coming at you, because he's so fast and he's so strong, and you're so worried he's going to beat you outside that he swims inside. And so he doesn't have like huge stats, but he has been exactly what they wanted. He's been disruptive. He's forced the quarterback out. He makes Carl Granderson better. You can't double everybody. You gotta have something. And so I think and they've put other teams out of their offense where they have to throw the football. And when you do that, when you got Carl Granderson and Cam Jordan and Chase Young, and then you're willing to throw some Alontae Taylor zone blitzes in there and get to him, that was the key. You can run at a quarterback, but if you don't get him down and he escapes and gets a first down, man, that's tough. But it didn't happen. They got to Bryce Young, got to Dak enough. You don't have to, and Duke said this a lot during the games, like, you don't have to sack Dak. You got to hit him. And they did. You got to make him feel your presence. And they did. And that's enough. And it wears you down. And, we take a CD Lamb TD out of this football game, all the numbers change. Everything changes.
It really does.
Right. And that was just a bad play. Just a freak play. Bad play happens. But
so someone earlier
has been huge.
Someone earlier said it's way back there. I can't find it now. But someone said it reminded them of the Minneapolis Miracle. I'm like, why'd you have to do that to me? Really?
Jim, I didn't say it on the air. I looked at Deuce and we both.
What you were thinking?
We both. Minneapolis. I'm not saying it, but that wasn't as much on the line. But that's what reminded me of that instantly.
Let's try to forget about that. Jim Derry here with Mike Haas on this Wednesday morning Dattitude podcast presented by Evangeline Securities. About to wrap it up here with Mike, and I thank him for taking so much time with us this morning. Love to have you on, Mike. I want to ask you about, before I do let you go, Saints-Eagles. Now, Dennis Allen, we just talked about the defense. The one thing that worries me and look, I spend a lot of time in sports betting. I'm not going to ask you your prediction, so don't worry about it. We got a couple people want me to ask your prediction. I'm not going to do that. I know that's not something you really want to do, but I will ask you this, though. The Saints have traditionally, at least with Dennis Carr as defensive coordinator, struggled against mobile quarterbacks. It has been kind of a thorn in the side of this team. Why will this week be any different?
I don't think Jalen wants to run. I think he will run. It's kind of like Dak. And kind of like Bryce. I don't think they want to run. Jalen ran Monday night because he had to. That offense wasn't moving the football, and he had 47 yards running the football on one drive. So I think it was more of a necessity for him. I think the key will be to contain. You don't have to sack him for 7 yards. And I think sometimes this defense has come so hard, so fast that that first guy misses him. And that first guy misses, the quarterback gets on the edge. And so, Jalen, they'll move in the pocket because he will throw from the wings as much as he'll throw from the pocket. But I really don't think he wants to run, but I think they've got, just like Dak, you've got to make him feel it. You've got to collapse the pocket. You don't have to have a 15-yard loss because you've sent somebody in on a blitz. You just got to keep collapsing the pocket around Jalen. Make him feel your presence. I don't know how they're going to come out this week. They've got to have been doing some soul searching for them. So I don't know, because there's got to be some question marks about your coach, some question marks about your quarterback, some question marks about your running back. So I don't know, but I do believe that you're right. They have struggled against mobile quarterbacks because they come too hard. You've got to just keep him in front of you, right? If he gets a 2-yard gain, that's not a sack, but it's not a first down. And that is huge to keep him to a 2-yard gain.
One thing I think you will see this week, I think you will see Willie Gay play more than he's played in the first 2 games, because I think there's a good chance that he ends up being the spy on Jalen Hurts, just like kind of how he played against Lamar Jackson in the AFC Championship game last year. I certainly think that this is a chance for him to be in there a lot this week.
Yeah. He and Will Harris both have been. I mean, Will Harris, good man.
He's been outstanding,
and Willie has such great speed. And so maybe that's maybe they haven't really had to do it a lot. It was more of the zone blitzes with Carolina and Dallas. I don't think that Dak worried him that much from a running standpoint, as opposed to just an escapability standpoint. So, but Jalen's a different animal. So he's a good athlete, and I don't think, I have to wait and see where they are at wide receiver. Devontae Smith, certainly. So this is another good test. If you're back home, and that building Sunday with the Eagles is going to feel immensely different than it did Sunday versus Carolina. People were excited, start of the new season, new buildings, Superdome, beautiful. But this Sunday, it's going to be much different.
And certainly different than when they played the Detroit Lions last year and they had all those Lions fans in the dome. They will have a lot of Eagles fans in the dome, but I think that the Hoodats will be so loud that it will be I think they'll overwhelm them a little bit. All right. I got a lot of questions in the queue. I'm going to save them for after Mike goes out here, because he's given us plenty of time already, so I want to keep him on. We will keep this stream going after Mike's gone and talk a little bit longer with our friends here in the chat. But Mike, my last question for you is this. Is it okay to dream about a Super Bowl in New Orleans? I mean, I got to ask the question, right? I mean, I've been telling people not to jump on the hype train, but I also say after the Cowboys game, how can you not? Is it okay to dream?
Of course. Was it okay to dream in 2009, right?
Yeah.
2006 taught, and I said this after the Super Bowl, 2006 taught us that it was okay to cry, right? 2005 with Katrina, and 2005, didn't matter where you lived, how much money you made. It taught us in 2005 you could cry. And in 2006, that team won and went to the NFC Championship. It taught us it was okay to cheer again. And then in 2009, taught us that it was okay to dream, because that's exactly what we did. Never been to a Super Bowl, and it was okay to dream again. So, yeah, but let's just keep it right there. Let's just dream at this point. But, yeah, I completely – now, I'm the media relations manager at Caesars Superdome beyond – so I have 2 kind of full-time gigs. And so the thought of that 2 weeks trying to do both jobs already is like – I'm like, so, but, yeah. I feel 100% it's okay to dream. And just because fans had asked, I will tell them, I never, ever in the history of my long life have thought the Saints will ever lose at home. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care what their record is. I always believe they're going to win at home. Now, that changes sometimes on the road, depending on who they're playing and how they're playing. But at home, I've never predicted they would lose a game at home. Never.
I will tell you this. I've seen something this week that I can't say I've never seen, but for a line to go from Monday afternoon, we're recording on Wednesday here, and I think this line at some places is 3, but it was Philadelphia -3 on Monday morning. By Tuesday morning, it was Saints -2.5, again, -3. You're talking about a 6-point jump. At some point, I don't know that I've seen that in one day without a key injury, without a quarterback getting hurt or something along those lines. It just doesn't happen.
On Philly. It's just based on. It's not based on the Saints, because the Saints had already won, and so it's based on Philly. I saw I think it was the power rankings. The Saints jumped 16 spots to 8th.
They jumped 12 in mine.
Right? How is that possible? Yeah. Think about it,
it isn't
16 to 8th. So there's a lot of things that are new, and so we're adjusting to them. But let's just keep them going. I'm fine with the path we're on.
Well, Mike, whatever happens the rest of the season, I know you'll enjoy it. you and Deuce have become a ritual here. You've been a New Orleanian for you've been around here doing your thing, and we miss you on WWL, but on Channel 4, but we're glad you get to do probably what is a lot of people's dream job.
It is. It's I love both. I love the Superdome. I love the Saints. I love WWL radio. I love everything that I'm doing. I'm blessed. Nobody gets these jobs at the end of their professional career, right? Nobody. And so I'm enormously blessed, but just know that I know that I'm enormously blessed. And so, yeah, let's one game at a time, but let's enjoy the ride, right? We didn't get to enjoy Carolina. We went right from Carolina into Francine mode. And I don't understand the team's 24-hour rule, but man, I just want to enjoy the ride a little bit. We got so spoiled with the Drew and Sean years. 13-3 meant nothing to us. Nothing. We were like
exactly.
Dallas. The regular season to Dallas means nothing.
Exactly.
Like, can we just get to the postseason? And that's the way we were in 17, 18, 19, 20. We just 13 games, whatever. Meant nothing. We got so spoiled. So enjoy the journey.
Well, it's nice, even if it's just 2 weeks. I hope this keeps on going, but to see the Saints be the Saints again, and for Houdats to be optimistic and enjoying things. And Mike, I'd really like to have you on later in the season. I don't want to wait 3 years next time. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Houdat, Sunday, let's be loud. Just be loud.
Absolutely. Tell Deuce hello for us.
I will. Thanks.
Mike Hoss, everybody. It's great to have him on. And look, I appreciate everybody's questions in there. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of them. There were some times where, the questions really didn't fit what we were talking about at the time, but I'm going to go back to a few of them here. And there's some things but try to keep this show under 120. So I want to get to some of these things. Again, some things that I didn't get to. Rocky was asking, does Lattimore finish the season with the team? That he has doubts. I mean, look, I've been telling you I got doubts too, but does it matter? I mean, I know a lot of people are saying, of course it matters, you dummy. Look, I think he's going to play this week is my thought. I think he's going to play this week. We'll see how it goes. It's amazing what winning can do for health. I'm just going to say that. Okay. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody or calling. I'm just saying it's amazing what winning can do for people's health. Hakeem, I don't think I showed this one. You're absolutely right. Saints can't allow Philadelphia to wake up Sunday. A.J. Brown is out. He is their biggest weapon at the wide receiver position. Yeah, but they still got Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert is a really good tight end. And Saquon Barkley, although he dropped that pass, I know a lot of Saints fans weren't rooting for the Falcons. I told you I was going to get back to that. But that may have ended up being a good thing. It may be a play that a bunch of people look back on and say that play did this or did that or changed this or changed that. But I'm going to tell you why it could be a good thing. And here's the reason why. If you are shooting for the stars, okay, and you think this Saints team is legit and they're going to win maybe 12 games, okay, I'm not saying that. But I know a lot of Houdats think that that's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible either. Anyway, if you're thinking that way, then as you go forward, you want the Saints to be able to not just win the division, but have the top seed. Who are they going to be battling against? Most likely, in my opinion, the two best teams in the NFC right now are still, even though they're banged up, the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. So if you can win this week, great. Not only does it give you an extra win on top of them, but it gives you a tiebreaker over them later. But to me, those are the kinds of games. If you think you're better than the Falcons, if you think you're going to beat the Falcons, then you kind of wanted them to win on Monday night, right? It's not as much a division thing. The Saints, I don't know. I do think the Falcons are going to get better going forward. We will see. I think by the time the Saints play the Falcons in 2 weeks, you see it on there. And by the way, I had the wrong schedule for the Eagles. I had to fix it while we're on the show there, but they have a brutal schedule as well. I mean, you got to hate that after the Saints, they got to go on the road again. As Mike said, they had started the season in San Paulo on that terrible field. Came home, played one game, the Falcons lose, Now they're on the road this week, and then they go to the Buccaneers next week, and then they have a bye week. So you're talking about when they play again at home on October the 13th or whatever it is, they will have only had one home game. That's a rough start for the Eagles. This is not a great spot for them. Whenever you're talking about a team that's got to go on the road 2 weeks in a row, and this is a short week, does it affect my pick? You can either go look at my NFL picks column on bet.noah.com, or you can wait till tomorrow, and I'll tell you what I think, because the game is in my best bets. Spoiler alert. Let's see. What else did I miss? More talk about AK's contract. Black Preacher Man says, do I think Loomis is second guessing not getting AK signed early before the season started? No. And I'll tell you why I think that he's not. As much as I talked earlier about, it's not as much about age as it is about touches. AK's going to be 30 years old next year. My guess is, I said this before the season, and I still believe this. They probably said, here's what we can offer you. And I'm going to make up a number because I think this is probably pretty close. We'll guarantee the money, but it's a 2-year deal, including this year, so a 1-year extension, a 2-year deal that totals $20 to $22 million, okay? Which is in line with, it wasn't McCaffrey's contract, but it really wasn't far behind that. That's the running back rate these days. And he probably said, you know what, I'll take my chances. This is completely speculation, okay? I don't have any insight on this, but that's what makes the most sense to me. And he said no. But if you're Mickey Loomis, you can't mortgage the future. Again, you think about going into the season and where this team has been and where they potentially, it's all great now. They're 2-0 and there's a lot of hope and promise and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if you realistically looked at this team from the outside and where this team could be, you can't afford to invest a ton of money in a running back that's going to be 30 years old to start the 2025 season. Does it look, would it have looked good now if they signed him to an extension? Yeah, but you still can't mortgage the future, in my opinion. I think both sides know that. I don't think there's any animus. I really don't. And I've been saying I think that this is Alvin Kamara's last year in New Orleans. I still kind of believe it. However, winning changes everything. If the Saints go on and have the kind of season that they've started out with and win this division and win a playoff game, again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But that would mean as much to Alvin Kamara as a contract would. Okay? So we'll see. But again, to answer our question from the beginning of the show and to answer that one from the Preacher Man, I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to happen until after the season. Hakeem says he thinks it's going to be a Willie Gay game as well. Let him stay in on 3rd and 2 or less. Nobody can stop that tush push. Not the only people that can stop it is the Eagles themselves so far. We've seen Hurts fumble on it. Ty, you talk about, does Reggie Bush still have nightmares about Sheldon Brown? All I could think of when I saw that comment about Reggie Bush and Mike, we were talking about dreaming about the Super Bowl, was just one time for your boy. One time for your boy. That's all I could think about. Did we already get our one time? I don't know. It seems like we've been paying a lot. Let's see. Preacher Man says, I have always, at the beginning of the last 20 years, picked my team to make it to the big dance. I'm a homer. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Because I'm going to have you're a preacher man. I'm going to give my confession. As much as I doubted this team before, I made it very clear. I've been apologizing for what? 3 days? Even in my shorts, I was apologizing on TikTok. I'm going to tell you this. No matter what I thought, because I do the same thing, I put a bet, and if you didn't hear me say this before, I'll tell you again. People told me I was nuts. My son said, you could have gone to Chick-fil-A and bought me and you lunch. Okay. I put a bet on the New Orleans Saints to win the Super Bowl, just in case. It was 100-1. I had to do it. So I'm with you. I wasn't picking them to win, but I bet on them to win, and I got to be honest. I didn't make a whole lot of futures bets. I think I made 5 total, and one of them is the Saints winning the Super Bowl. So I'm with you. Rob, thank you. Great podcast, he says. Have a great day. All right, there's 2 things before we go off the air, and I only got 9 minutes to do it. By the way, first, so including that, before we finish up, again, I want to tell you Saints PFF grades. They're very interesting. Don't go anywhere. I think some of you will be surprised at these PFF grades. Who was the best? Who had the highest rating of all Saints? Go ahead, guess while I'm reading you some more important information about our friends at Evangel Securities. Go ahead and guess. Who do you think had the best PFF grade? And don't cheat. If you already know, if you read the story on NOLA.com/Saints, don't cheat. Don't comment if you already know. But go ahead and guess while I read you something very important. Because it's important to tell you a little more about how Evangel Securities can help you figure out what your family run or privately owned business might be worth, whether it's time to sell. I already told you they begin with a complimentary valuation, say that 10 times fast, of your company. After all the results are in, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians, Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangel will begin an extensive auction process among established private equity funds from around the world. They will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. You think it's not possible yet? It's too soon? Is it less possible than the Saints scoring touchdowns on 6 straight drives against the Dallas Cowboys? Yeah, you saw that coming. I know what I see coming. Pina coladas and muffaladas. I think that's going to be the name of my business that Nick and Ron will help me with when I hang up the microphone. Well, in fact, maybe we'll have a new drink. Pina colada. No, not colada, colata. If you could put a coconut on a pizza, you can combine olives with and processed meats with coconuts. Maybe I should just stick to the script and stop digressing. But anyway, Evangel Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area. None, and I mean none, with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed, ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. Let me hear it. What is really important? The rest of your life. You find them at www.evangelandsecurities.com. Okay, here we go. PFF grades. I got to scroll back up. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Hang on. All right, let's show some of these guesses. Landon Young. Nope. Penning. Not even close. He was actually one of the worst, believe it or not. T Mama says I'm tripping. Always. I mean, my wife, I'm not going to get into that, but she hates when my TikToks come up on her feed. And she's like, she feels like she's forced to watch them because she doesn't want to ruin the algorithm, that whatever. She wants me to get as close to 100%. So she feels guilty. She's like, oh, it's you again. Brian says Penning. Nope. Penning. Nope. Penning. Nope. Uncle Big Nick says Willie Roaf. Nope. Mama, I know y'all love me. Lance Moore. Y'all just getting off the rails now, so I'll just tell you. How about this? Told you weren't going to guess. He had a 97.2 rating out of 100. I wouldn't have guessed it either. How about left guard Lucas Patrick? Was the highest graded Saints player. Lucas Patrick. That's you know what? I mean, I spent so much time. I always go rewatch the game. I try to do it on Monday. I don't always get to it. Sometimes I do it on Sunday night if I have time. But I was rewatching the game yesterday, and I was paying so much attention to Penning and Fuaga that I didn't even pay attention. So I might have to go watch it a third time. I mean, you can always watch a game like that again. Second rated player on the Saints was Eric McCoy. Got a 92.2. 4 offensive players. This is rare, folks. 4 offensive players had above 90 grade. The two I told you about, of course, Derek Carr and Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed was next, 85.5. Surprisingly, as Zach Ewing points out in his wrap-up of this, Alvin Kamara only got a 67.4. Fuaga, did he put Fuaga in here? 68.1, which is solid. Anything above 65 is okay. On the defensive side, Demario Davis, 91.4. Carl Granderson, 85.6. Tyrann Mathieu, 82.9. Kool-Aid, 77.1. What about Penning? Penning was the third worst offensive starter ranking. He had a 57, which is not really good. And honestly, I'm going to say this about Penning when I went back and watched, and I spent a lot of time watching. I could see why he got not a great grade. That number does surprise me. I thought he would have got in the 60s or high 60s because especially on the play with, if you go back and watch the play with Shaheed that I watched about 8 times, he got pushed back. And he kind of got pushed back almost into Carr, but he held the block long enough. And that's something he wasn't doing in preseason. So I'm encouraged about what I see from Trevor Penning. I'm not ready to say everything's okay there. Michelle says, thanks for inviting Mike. Absolutely. We'll have him on again. Brian says he wants to apologize to Ruiz. He's really good. Who's the new O-line coach? He deserves a raise. Oh, God, it's brain cramp. Is it Benton? I'm having a brain cramp. Gabe's going to tell me in just a second. Dustin said Fuaga. No, it wasn't. Exactly. Brian. What? A-Town. Who? Yes. Patrick has been, there you go. I'm going to have to pay more attention to him. But anyway, the run blocking from Penning actually has been outstanding. It's the pass blocking that I worry about. But again, they're moving so quick. They don't know what's coming. They've been putting, I can't tell you how many different people blocked Micah Parsons on Sunday. I don't even know the answer to Benton. Yeah. I'm telling you, I have brain cramps sometimes. All right. 3 minutes left. I want to talk real quick about we got plenty more to talk about. I'll have more to talk about this stuff in my monologue tomorrow morning. Even though it is a best bet show, the first 15 minutes or so, maybe even more, whatever, I'm going to do as I always do. I have my own monologue, whatever's new, or if something, there's a lot of stuff I left out today that I didn't even get to. So there's plenty of stuff to talk about tomorrow. All right. Pelicans TV deal. I'm kind of going back and forth on Twitter with someone who I've known for a little. I don't know her well. We used to work in the same circles. She'd covered high schools in the North Shore at the same time that I did. And now she works for Fox 8. We've kind of been going back and forth. And look, I think this, so I want to make it clear because I probably didn't make it clear on X. This new Pelicans TV deal, which we'll talk about more about when I learn the intricate details in the next few weeks. But it's not quite as great as it sounds. I was led to believe a month or so ago that all the Pelicans games are going to be on Fox 8. That's not the case at all. Now, they still will have 8 to 10 games on Fox 8, free to watch. And then they'll have, I don't know how many national games they have, probably 8 or 10 of those. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. So, in other words, there'll be at least 16 to 20 games that you'll be able to watch Pelicans if there's nothing else. Now, if you live in the city of New Orleans or in Baton Rouge or a few other big cities that have that are owned by, that have television stations owned by Gray Media that are in the Southeast, even I think as far as Birmingham, then you will be able to get the Pelicans every game with a new network. And it's escaping me right now. If you know it off the top of your head, Gabe, go ahead, type it in. New network. John Benton, by the way, is the O-line coach. But if you could type it in the new network, Gulf South Pelicans Network or something along those lines, they will be free to watch over the air. In other words, if you have an antenna, and you know how you have to like first of all, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Okay. If you use any streaming services for TV, you're going to have to switch out of your streaming service. I know for me, like I use Apple TV. So even if I were able to where I live, and I can't because I can't get it with a regular antenna, but you can use your antenna, and I'm being long-winded here, but use your antenna to get whatever. I think it's channel 7.1 or 8.1 or whatever it is here in the New Orleans area. That's not going to help me because I can't get it. It's not going to be on YouTube TV. It's not going to be on Hulu. It's not going to be, if you use streaming service, you won't get it. And if you live outside, more than 40 miles from the city, you'll have a choice. Big Sean says he's a Spurs fan. It doesn't matter to him. So for me, there will be an option to buy the app, which is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood they're expecting to be about $100 annually. And I don't mind paying it, honestly. I'm just saying, don't go out there and advertise this as like you're exposing it. It's not just free. Okay. Again, more on this coming later on when I find the intricate details. If you want to check out the back and forth that I've had with someone who works for Fox 8 and Gray Media, and Lord knows I'm friends with Fox 8. I go on Fox 8 twice a month. I'm not bitching about Fox 8. Just don't mislead people is my thing. Don't make it sound like everybody's going to be able to watch them for free because it's not true. Okay? And she's like coming back trying to tell me, don't smoke up my ass, okay? It's not free. It's free if you live in the city and you want to go through the rigmarole of, then you have to buy an antenna if you don't have one, which also costs money, by the way. And then you have to go through the procedure. Most people won't even be able to figure out how to even get the channels on the TV. That's no joke. I can tell you right now, if I gave my wife, okay, if she wanted to watch the Pelicans, which she doesn't, and said, okay, here's your antenna, she wouldn't be able to know how to put it connected to the TV and then figure out how to use it and switch it back to the streaming. Just saying. It's not as easy as it sounds. Let's don't mislead people. All right. We're going way too long here. Again, tomorrow, monologue, best bets. Gabe's going to come on with his best bet. Tom Casale, we'll do some talk about LSU-UCLA. We'll do some talk about Tulane, ooh la la. We'll even have talk about Saints and Eagles. Again, spoiler alert, it's in my best bets. The game is. I'm not going to tell you who I'm picking. If you really can't wait, you can go look on bet.nola.com and you can read what I wrote. And then after Tom's done, Uncle Big Nick will come on, and then I will show you my picks with Uncle Big Nick's. And our results from last week were way better than they were in week one. So we hope we can continue that. And then on Friday, of course, Larry Holder will be on with us, and we will spend the morning previewing Saints, Eagles, and spend maybe 20% of the show talking about the best games of the week. Thank you, T-Mama. Thank you, Black Preacher Man. Enjoyed the show. We enjoyed having you. We continue to get new regulars, if that makes any sense. Is there such thing, new regulars? Love it. I'm loving Mondays. I got to be honest. And not just because the Saints won. It's my favorite show of the week. And no offense to any guest. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, John. Oh, John, by the way, I saw your email about asking me about, I didn't forget you. Okay, I promise. I will answer your email when I get off the show. John was asking for places to go in New Orleans. And yeah, I didn't forget you. Uncle Big Nick. Yep. You'll be on tomorrow. Can't wait. It'll be fun. So yeah, Mondays have been my favorite show. We just talking to y'all and y'all talking back to me. I may turn Wednesday into that as well. We'll see. But if I get a chance to have a guest on like Mike, of course I'm going to do it. All right. That is going to wrap it up for us for this Wednesday. Of course, I want to thank Mike Haas, the voice of the Saints. And of course, Gabe Henderson. Sometimes he's behind the scenes. Sometimes he's on the camera. Sometimes he's on both. He's our BFF. We hope you can join us tomorrow, which is Thursday, in case you lost track of your calendar. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Says best pod for sure. I think so. I'm biased. It'll be time for our week 3 betting show. As I told you, I am hearing there's going to be some crossfire between Uncle Big Nick and myself. In fact, not just one pick, 2 picks. 2 picks. We got crossfire in our best bets. We also have 1 pick that's the same. It's rare that we pick the same game, much less have 3 of the same games. 3 of our 5 are the same game. 1 of them we pick the same, 2 of them we don't. That never happens, as a matter of fact, not rarely. Reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications. Ding, ding. You know, when we go on the live every weekday except Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Time. Or you can watch on demand. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, many more. You can also find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. Also, check out all of Gabe's work at bet.nola.com. Tom Casale as well. And my brand new picks column out this morning. My Saints Trends column will come out Friday. And then, of course, all of our Saints insider friends can be found at NOLA.com/Saints. We will see you tomorrow, everyone. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.